What's going on YouTube? Listen up, young elder gang. This is Dr. Charles P. Winston at You With Another Banger. Please make sure you like, subscribe and share this video, fam. I hope this video get at least 100,000 likes. In this video, you will find history, definitions, scripture, information and best of all, what we Americans have been deprived of from the beginning, the truth. Keep in mind, this content used in this video is intended for entertainment, educational and informational purposes only. We will give you the total truth as we best understand it today. Be sure to hit that like button, young elder gang. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit that bell and don't forget to check back with us every day for new content. The USA is the greatest psyop of all time. A psyop stands for psychological operation, which is a military tactic aimed at influencing the thoughts, emotions and behaviors of a target audience through the dissemination of information, often using propaganda or other persuasive techniques, to achieve a desired strategic objective, typically without direct combat engagement. Essentially, it's a way to manipulate people's perceptions to achieve a military goal. Propaganda is communication that is primarily used to influence or persuade an audience to further an agenda, which may not be objective and may be selectively presenting facts to encourage a particular synthesis or perception, or using loaded language to produce an emotional rather than a rational response to the information that is being presented. Propaganda can be found in a wide variety of different contexts. The USA is a country that doesn't function like a country. It functions like a corporation, a reality show, and a social experiment. A corporation is considered a type of business, specifically a legal business entity that is separate from its owners, shareholders, meaning it has its own legal identity and can conduct business independently. Essentially, a corporation is a structured way to operate a business with specific legal protections and characteristics. A social experiment is a research method used in psychology or sociology where researchers observe people's reactions to specific situations or events in a controlled setting, often by manipulating variables to study how social interactions and behaviors change in response, usually involving dividing participants into groups to compare outcomes between them. Essentially, it's a way to study human behavior within a social context by observing how people react to specific scenarios. Keep in mind, a reality show or tell-live vision is a genre of television programming, meaning they are programming you. All at once, the American dream was never real, but they needed you to believe it was. The American dream is a phrase referring to a purported national ethos of the United States, that every person has the freedom and opportunity to succeed and attain a better life. The phrase was popularized by James Truslow Adams during the Great Depression in 1931. And has had different meanings over time. The USA runs on a single powerful myth: if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything. But the system was never designed to let everyone win. The wealth gap is wider than ever. Wages haven't kept up in decades and upward. Mobility is statistically. The wealth are the 1%. The top 1% refers to the wealthiest people in a country as measured by their income or net worth. In the United States, the top 1% of earners make millions of dollars per year, which is many times more than the average American. The wealth gap is the difference in wealth between different groups of people in a society. It can also be called wealth inequality or wealth disparity. What is the causes of the wealth gap? Well, one is discrimination. Structural economic barriers such as limited educational opportunities, lack of support structures and unequal access to housing. Another one is lack of intergenerational wealth transfer. When wealth isn't passed down from one generation to the next, also you've got to pay close attention to income inequality. That's when income is distributed unevenly across the population. What is the impact of the wealth gap? Low social mobility. When disadvantaged people have little chance of moving up in society, economic insecurity is when people don't have the resources to cover unexpected expenses or unstable income. The wealth gap in the United States is crazy. The racial wealth gap is the difference in wealth between white households and so-called Black and Latin households. The wealth gap has been growing in the United States since the 1960s. The racial wealth gap is wider than the racial income gap. The wealth gap compounds over time and worsens with age. It's very rare the people who actually run things, such as the major corporations, billionaires and lobbyists, play by the same rules as the rest of you. So why do people still believe in the American dream? Because the illusion is necessary to keep the machine running. An illusion is a misperception of reality, or a misleading image that tricks the brain into seeing something differently than it is. If people woke up en masse to the reality that the system is rigged, it would collapse overnight. The two-party system is a manufactured illusion of multiply choice, but is multiply choice really a choice, if they tell you what choices you can pick from? The USA claims to be a democracy, but in reality, it's one of the most effective psychological control systems in the world. A psychological control system refers to the complex mechanisms within a person's mind that regulate their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, aiming to maintain a desired state of equilibrium or achieve specific goals, essentially acting as a system to manage one's internal experience and interactions with the environment. It encompasses aspects like cognitive control, emotional regulation, and motivational systems. You're given two options, Republicans versus Democrat. So it feels like you have a choice, but in reality both serve the same corporate overlords. The political division is not accidental. Keeping people arguing about surface-level issues means they don't unite against the real power structures, the corporations, reptilian human hybrids, world bankers, world elites, black hand families, military-industrial complex, and etc. Every election cycle, the public is convinced their vote will change everything, but notice how nothing ever fundamentally changes. The real goal of the US political system: manufacture consent, keeping people distracted, ensuring no real power shifts occur. The US economy is just vibes and debt. America's economy isn't built on production or actual wealth creation, it's built on debt. Speculation and psychological manipulation. The dollar are backed by nothing but belief. The stock market isn't real. It's a glorified casino controlled by the ultra-wealthy. The US doesn't actually have money. They print trillions of dollars, having been magically created out of nowhere, but somehow the average person is still struggling to afford rent. The sad part about it, and the real scam, is that you're told to budget your Starbucks purchases, while billionaires literally manipulate the entire economy in real time. Dang, it's a cold world. The education system is not about learning, it's about conditioning. Learning is a general term for a change in behavior or knowledge, while conditioning is a specific type of learning that involves associating stimuli with responses. Conditioning is a form of mind control that can be used for good or bad. The American school system wasn't designed to create critical thinkers, remember. In the famous words of John D. Rockefeller, a critical thinker is someone who actively analyzes, interprets, and evaluates information to form judgments based on evidence, considering different perspectives and questioning assumptions rather than simply accepting information at face value. Essentially, they are skilled at thinking deeply and logically to reach informed conclusions. The USA school system was designed to create obedient workers. You're taught what to think, not how to think. You learn memorization, compliance, and submission to authority, not real-world skills like financial literacy, emotional intelligence, or independent thought. Financial literacy is the ability to use money wisely and make informed decisions about your finances. It involves understanding how to earn, budget, borrow, save, and invest. College is marketed as a necessity, but in reality, it's just a hidden debt trap that locks you into the system before you even start your career. The truth is that the system doesn't want you to be free. It wants you to be useful. The US military-industrial complex under the Jason Society controls everything. America doesn't just have a military, it is a military. The USA spends more on war than the next 10 countries combined. Every major geopolitical event isn't about freedom or democracy, it's about resources, control, and profit. The country is in a perpetual state of war because war drives the economy, justifies surveillance, and keeps the population in fear. A perpetual war, endless war, or forever war is a lasting state of war with no clear conditions that would lead to its conclusion. These wars are usually situations of ongoing tension that may escalate at any moment, similar to the Cold War. The scariest part, most Americans don't even realize they're living in the new Roman Empire, Mystery Babylon. The USA frames itself as the world's protector, while actively destabilizing countries for economic and political gain. This is the final verdict. The USA is not a country. I repeat, the USA is not a country, it's a corporation. It sells you the idea of freedom while keeping you in economic, psychological and social chains. Social, economic and organizational psychology focuses on the application of scientific psychological knowledge of social processes within and between groups of people and individuals in organizations, but also during economic and consumer decisions. They keep you in the illusion of choice. They keep you docile to the illusion of freedom. The illusion of freedom is the idea that one is free when they are not, or that freedom is a goal in itself. It can refer to the idea that one has more choices than they actually do, or that the government is allowing people to believe they are free. The government may allow people to believe they are free, but limit their freedoms in practice. For example, a government may allow people to protest but prosecute them for their message. In a technological society, freedom and equality may be more about technology than politics or economics. The illusion of freedom can convince people that their own gratification is more important than their responsibilities to others. The illusion of choice can lead people to believe they have more choices than they actually do. This can contribute to a false sense of control. They keep you loyal to the illusion of progress, which is why they are called Congress, which means to go against progress. They keep you hopeful, and as long as the PSYOP is effective, the system will never end. Many are not ready to unplug from the system. You've got to understand the human nature. Human nature is the collection of characteristics that are common to most humans, including how we think, feel, and act. It's often used to describe the essence of what it means to be human. One of the main characteristics of humans is their emotions, which is how you feel, such as love, anger, and joy. On the psychology side is how you think and process information, how you behave, such as helping others or being selfish. Also, you must understand cultural influence. Cultural influence refers to the impact that various aspects of a culture, like beliefs, values, traditions and practices, have on individuals and societies, shaping their behaviors, perspectives and social norms over time. Essentially, how a culture affects the way people think and act within a community or group. These can include religion, language, family structure, customs, art, food and interactions with other cultures. Cultural influence shapes how people perceive the world, make decisions, interact with others, and understand their roles within society. A culture that values collectivism might prioritize group needs over individual needs. A culture with strong religious beliefs might have specific social norms around dress code and behavior. A culture's culinary traditions can influence the types of food people eat and how they prepare meals. Cultural influences. Cultural influences mean historical, geographical and familial factors that affect assessment and intervention processes. The background and experiences of a society shape human nature. What about philosophy and morality? Which is, whether human nature is good or bad depends on philosophical and moral views. The idea that human nature has an essence that is universal has been challenged by some schools of thought, including Marxism, feminism and postmodernism. Examples of human nature interaction are how humans impact the environment, such as through climate change and overhunting, how humans benefit from nature, such as through recreation, food and resources, which reflects both the story's fictional world and the real-life metaphysical condition of society. The system in the Matrix is a metaphor for the illusion, an artificial construct designed to control and subdue humanity by giving them a false sense of reality. Much like how many live today, trapped in the illusions of society, unable or unwilling to see beyond the veil of lies, manipulation and control. Overstands that for many, the comfort of the system is preferable to the unsettling and often painful process of awakening to truth. People have become conditioned through years, sometimes generations of indoctrination, to accept the world as it is presented to them. To unplug from this system is to face a harsh, sometimes unbearable reality that everything they thought was real is, in fact, a lie. This requires courage, a willingness to embrace discomfort, and most importantly, the readiness to let go of what one thought to be the truth. Those still plugged into the system are often its most ardent defenders. Why? Because the system has become their identity. their sense of self, their beliefs, their values. All are tied to the illusions and constructs of that system. To threaten it is to threaten everything they hold dear. For many, it is easier to defend the system than to confront the possibility that they have been deceived.